So let me say welcome to Judah from the Ministry, the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Climate Change, who has just joined us and with whom we work very closely. So, dear Dr. Dindo and dear IUCN colleagues, dear government representatives, dear partners from the donor community, from the NGO, from the private sector, from academia, I would like first to thank IUCN and the Ministry of Climate Change for having invited us. We are actually really honored to be here today in this launch of the Climate Change Gender Action Plan led by the Ministry of Climate Change and IUCN, and very happy to see the commitment of all stakeholders and the number of people you all in this room are showing this commitment. First, let me commend the efforts made thus far by the government of Pakistan, including relevant agencies, to recognize gender differential needs and priorities. It's clear that issues related to women have taken an important place in the national policy agenda of Pakistan. And gender has been mainstreamed at the national policy level. We have the Climate Change Act, National Climate Change Policy, and now the Climate Change Gender Action Plan, where gender has been mainstreamed very thoroughly. So, as Dr. Dindo said and stressed, since the most important is the action, I thought I wanted to give you some reality checks, and very recent reality checks. Yesterday, I was in Lahore, had a validation workshop on a baseline study of our project, a large project in South Punjab and in Sindh, in district very prone to disaster, very hit by climate change and poor. And this workshop, we had done these baseline surveys. And we disaggregated the data, which we don't systematically do, but this time we had disaggregated data, and we looked at male-headed households and female-headed households and looked at the differences. And from that, we have three main messages which came out of these results. The first message is that female-headed households are poorer than male-headed households. They have less land, less livestock, and less access to social services. These, you will say to me, we know. The second one is about the analysis of food security using several indicators, such as the food for those who are working in the food security sector. We have the food insecurity experience scale, we have the food consumption score, etc. But again, female-headed households are less food secure than male-headed households, measured by those different indicators. The third message is an interesting one. We're looking at the resilience capacity of households. Since 2008, FAO has been at the forefront of efforts to measure the resilience capacity of the people to food insecurity and the effectiveness of resilience strengthening interventions. And for that, we've pioneered an index, a resilience index, which was used for the second time in Pakistan for these Green Climate Fund large project on agricultural transformation in Punjab and Sindh. And here we have the female-headed household again, which have a lower resilience capacity by 3 points than male-headed household. But what is extremely interesting is the structure of the resilience, which is different. And it shows that the resilience of female-headed household is much more based on social safety networks, social networks, and the capacity to adopt and to change in order to respond to a shock, a new situation. And when we look at the access to land, ownership of land, and access to hospital, access to agri-input market, access to food markets, the women-headed households are much less resilient on these aspects than men. So, what does it say? We still have to work on these resilience pillars, what we call these resilience pillars. So, it shows the launch of this climate change gender action plan is extremely timely. Why? It reminds us and it pushes us to do more in order to achieve our gender equality. Let me conclude with 2 points. Let me reassure you that on behalf of the UN system, you can count on our support for the implementation of the ccGAP, of course. Let me also acknowledge today the resilience of women in Pakistan and all over the world who continue to stand against multiple challenges, including that of climate change, discrimination, harassment, and violence. Thank you very much.